According to a CDC study, there was in December 2012, 71 billion texts that were sent and received. That is a lot of texting. Now with texting, there's of course nothing wrong, except when you start driving and texting at the same time. And because of distracted drivers in 2012, there were 3,328 people that died. And there were 421,000 people that were injured. That is a lot of people, and that is a lot of not good news. And we've all done it, we've all texted, we've all driven, and you're like, just a quick moment, and it's a quick moment that can just completely take that away. So you're wondering, should you be texting and driving together? It's something I changed myself just a month ago, and I have to tell you, when I let go of texting and driving, there's this peace and safety that feels really, really, really good. But is that the only thing that America is distracted with? What about God? God seems to be forgotten, seems to be left out, and seems to not really be in the picture of most people, their life. And when you let go of God, everything changes. And with me is a special guest today, Kathlene Ashford, who learned that texting and driving and walking away from God is not the answer. Kathlene, I am so glad you are sitting with me here today alive.
Thank you.
Now, you went through a major accident. You got distracted by your phone. Tell me what happened.
Me and my son Travis were driving back into town, and my phone was ringing, and I just leaned over to turn it off. And as soon as I leaned over, the car went with me, and we hit an oak tree and rolled down the embankment.
Wow. Where were you at the time?
Right by Lake Mendocino, right before Road A.
So it's basically, it was a one-lane road, one lane on each side. Yeah. So you're there, you go down, you're not alone in the car. Wasn't your baby with you?
He was 10 months old.
10 months old, Travis.
Yep.
Travis is in the back. You hit a tree. How fast were you going?
55.
55. What was the impact?
What do you mean?
How fast? I've heard when you go at 55 miles an hour and you stop, it's bad news.
Yeah.
It's like fast, really, really fast. So you hit the tree. Did the tree stop the car?
No, it propelled it downwards, the embankment.
Did anybody see you while you were rolling down there?
Nobody saw me rolling down, but there was a person making a turn down Road A, and so they saw my car in the line of cars, and then they didn't see my car, and they saw the oak tree shaking.
So they stopped, they called, I assume, 911.
They called 911, and immediately he came to the car, and he took Travis out of his car seat and was trying to comfort him.
Was he screaming?
Yes.
Yeah, can't blame him. Can't blame him. So the car was in very bad shape.
Awful.
But Travis was able to be just walking away, basically?
Well,
I thought...
Travis fractured his femur, so he was carried away from the scene and taken to Ukiah Valley Medical Center, and it took the paramedics an hour and a half to get me out of the car.
Were you conscious during that time, or did the accident knock you out?
I think I got knocked out when I hit the tree, but then when I came to, we were down the embankment, and then I was awake while they were working on me.
So you woke up when they were already there?
I woke up as soon as they were coming to me. Like, I woke up alone, and then people started coming down to help me.
Okay, they see you in the car. What was wrong with you?
I had shredded my aorta. The dashboard was up in my femur, and I fractured my wrist. And I had shattered the left side of my pelvis. That's
pretty serious.
Yeah.
Now I've heard, actually there are facts that when you have a shredded aorta, it's usually fatal. It's bad. You're just bleeding.
You bleed
crazy.
out immediately.
Could they actually get to you to stop the bleeding while you were in the car?
I don't think there was bleeding. I think the impact of the seatbelt was so tight against it that that's what stopped it from bleeding out.
Really? Wow. Wow, you are in there. How long did it take them to get you out of the car?
An hour and a half.
Wow. And
they used the jaws of life.
What does that mean?
It's that like big machine they use that just rips the car in half.
How does I am trying to imagine. It's actually really not funny at all.
I know.
But they won't hit you. Is it like they remove a cast from your arm? You know, how does that work? They had to cut you out of your own car.
Mm-hmm. The whole passenger side was in the trunk of my car. And the CHP told my parents that if Travis would have been on the other side of the car, or if I had a passenger, they would have been dead on impact.
Wow, wow. So you're there, you're shredded, and you're waiting there to be cut out. There's machines around you, there's noise, there's pain, unless you're in full shock.
I was in full shock. I didn't feel anything.
What went through your head while you were there?
I honestly thought I was getting pulled over. I was trying to give the CHP my insurance and license. It didn't register that I had just been in a car accident.
None of that, none of that. You did not know you were almost dead. None of that.
Nothing. I didn't feel any pain, and I was just wondering why I was in the bushes getting pulled over.
You're nuts.
Yeah.
So you're in shock. You're working through all that. You're out there. They get you out of the car. Did reality set in at that moment?
No. Reality didn't set in until they were loading me into the helicopter, when I kept removing my feet from the ankle brace, and the man that was working on me kept telling me not to close my eyes and not to fall asleep, and I was like, I'm tired, I'm just gonna close my eyes really quick, and he kept telling me no, because I needed to stay conscious.
They wanted to keep you awake. You get to the hospital, you get to Ukiah Valley Medical Center.
They flew me straight to Santa Rosa, and there was nothing they could do for me there, so then I was airlifted again to Stanford Hospital.
Wow, wow. You get there, they look at you, and then serious life fighting starts happening.
Yeah.
Tell me quickly about that.
The doctors in Santa Rosa told my parents they weren't sure I was even going to make it to Stanford. And so when I did, they were shocked that I was even alive. And so they immediately put a stent in my heart and hooked me up to every machine possible. I was wrapped in bubble wrap, and there was a ventilator on me, helping me breathe.
I'm just listening to you, and I'm thinking, why bubble wrap? Hold that thought. I want to hear more, because I'm like, you went through something that can happen to all of us. We have all texted. We've all made mistakes.
Yeah.
We're getting better at it now. We're learning.
Yeah.
But here you're sharing things. You're like, how you should have been dead.
Yeah.
Why did God save you? And we will be right back.
The Barb Marshall Show has had a profound impact on viewers all over the country, which has really explains the meteoric rise from its humble beginnings in Ukiah, California, to its move to Access Sacramento here in Sacramento, and our invitation to join the International World Harvest Network. I was inspired by Barb and the stories that she tells, and I created a GoFundMe.com/BarbTV. Go there.
Do you text and drive? And is there a danger to that? And Kathlene Ashford, that is with me today on the show, knows all about that. Her aorta was shredded. Her pelvis on the left side was completely broken to pieces, and there were all kinds of health issues just by grabbing the phone. And it's been said that when you answer the phone or when you connect on the phone, if it's not done in the legal way, that there are 3 parts that is affected by. It is your mind, it is your eyes, and it is your hands. And that is enough to cause an accident like what happened to Kathlene. Now, Kathlene, you're there in bubble wrap. Why bubble wrap? Laying in a hospital here,
I'm not sure. That's just the first thing my parents saw. They could only see my eyes because my whole body was wrapped in bubble wrap and on every machine possible.
Wow. Now you died 3 times. That's pretty bad. That is really bad. What was the cause of that? Was it just the impact of the shock? Was it the shredded aorta? Was there low blood flow? What was the reason for that?
On the helicopter ride to Stanford, I went into cardiac arrest and they brought me back, and I think I died during one of my surgeries, and then during the night one time.
Wow. Do you remember any of that? Every person is always curious when somebody has died and you did it 3 times. They're talking about a white light. They're talking about a tunnel. They're talking about all kinds of stuff. How did you experience that?
I didn't see a white light or a tunnel or anything. My parents said that I talked about my grandma, who just passed away recently, that I saw her, and that she told me that it's not my time, that I needed to stay and take care of my Travis. And they also said that I saw my older brother Travis, who passed away a while ago, and all I remember is just having really scary hallucinations.
Not a good memory, not a good time. You're there, you're in there, they put you in coma for 2 months. Why was that?
They didn't think my body could withstand all the pain, so
Okay.
they put me in a drug-induced coma.
Wow, that's funny you're saying drug-induced, because you were adopted, and then great parents, everything wonderful, everything goes fine, and then something devastating happens to your brother Travis, and you just mentioned that he was in heaven, but yet he died of leukemia. Did that make an impact on you in earlier life? Because you left God, didn't you? Tell me about that.
Well, we grew up as your traditional Christian family, church every morning.
Every morning?
Every Sunday morning. And then after my brother Travis died, I completely blamed God, and I didn't understand why he could take such a great person away from me. And I completely abandoned my faith and never looked back.
Just totally walked away from it.
Completely.
So you walk away. What are the options when you turn your back on God? What do you turn to? What are the answers when you're dealing with pain and nothing resolves it?
You turn to drugs.
Did you turn to drugs?
I started smoking marijuana when I was 14, and that seemed to be the only thing that would numb the pain.
And how long were you smoking?
Up until the accident.
So wow, that's a long time. Didn't they send you to rehab?
I left on my own will, and I came back and relapsed.
You went back. That's quite common. So you have relapsed. You walked away from God. You're in the car. You're about to die, and then God does not let you die. Did you ever what the answer was? How did you return to God, and why?
At first I was confused because of everything I was going through. I wanted him to let me die. I was like, I turned my back on you. Shouldn't you turn your back on me? And then that's when I started getting involved with the church again. I was rebaptized in January, and I've just... Obviously, he has a plan for me, or I wouldn't have came back 3 times, and he wouldn't have brought me such a beautiful child that keeps me going every day. And
that's good. So you have little Travis, and I'm going to talk
Yes.
about him in just a moment. But before we do that, we are going to just take a little bit of a break. And you know what? It's amazing, because what is the answer? What is the answer when you're distracted from God and walk away? Because God did not answer the way he should have in your mind. We will be right back. How do you deal with it when there's a void in your life and you struggle? You feel like leaving church, or you actually have left church. Next week is for you. We'll be talking about how Jesus responds to the question that Thomas asked him. He says, what do we do? What is the way? And God responded, or Jesus responded to that in a very profound way, and said something nobody else had said before. Tune in next week and find out. With me is Kathlene Ashford, and she grabbed her phone while they were driving and ended up in a horrendous car accident. And do you text and drive? And how is your relationship with God? Are you ready to meet your Creator if you would die today? You never thought you were going to die that day. You never thought anything was going wrong till it was too late. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. So you're in the car, you have died, you're thinking about God. Now, something I read about your biography, that when you're actually being cut out of the car and when you're in that whole situation, is that you found Jesus during the time. Mm-hmm. Can you explain that to me? How does that work?
Well, I figured that with how horrendous the accident was, that I should have just been dead right then and there, but I just kept hearing this voice that was saying it's going to be all right, and I knew it was God.
You just knew it. Was it like kind of a calming, or what kind of a voice was it?
It was more comforting.
Wow.
And I just had this whole calm over my body where
was going to be okay. So
yeah.
It wasn't like, I told you so, you left me, you should not smoke weed. It wasn't like, how dare you do this to me? How come you walk away from me who created you? It was none of that.
None of that.
No condemnation, no judgment that moment.
It was comforting and welcoming.
Completely opposite is what people would think that would happen.
Completely.
So if you would have a choice, you returned back to God, you overcame your drugs, did you ever get to the answer why your brother was taken by leukemia?
It was just his time.
So you actually trust God now that says he has reasons.
Completely.
I'm going to trust you even if I don't like it.
Yes.
Because that is basically what it was. That's why he turned to drugs.
Yep.
Then it's interesting that you say that, because with your car accident, you had two options. You could have said, I don't like it, and talked totally away from God. Why did he allow this to happen? Or totally run to God. And you run to God. You totally return to him. Was that because there was a huge void in your life and an emptiness, and you learned you could not do it on your own?
Yes.
So what was it during that time that you walked away from God? Because there are so many people today that struggle with it and work through it, that just, there is something that is missing and they don't know how to fix it. What is it that you would tell them?
I would say just put everything to God. He has a path for you, and you just need to trust him.
And just let go and let God. So that's so much easier said than done, if I would say it.
Yeah.
But when you're saying it after 2 months of coma, you were in coma for 2 months after your accident.
Yes.
I've heard when you wake up, you have to learn to walk, to talk, to read. Was that for you?
I had to relearn everything. I couldn't even hold my toothbrush on my own. I couldn't feed myself. I couldn't dress myself. I couldn't do anything.
You start like all over from a toddler?
Completely.
Nothing there. So were you mentally aware of what was happening? Or did your brain have to get back to where it used to be as well?
It had to get back to where it was. Every day, after I woke up from the coma, every day the doctors would have to remind me of where I was. I wasn't even sure when my own birthday was.
Remembered nothing?
Nothing.
Is that normal for a coma?
I think it's different with every case.
Yeah, wow. Did you get lonely there? Because you were like out there and then in rehab, away from your son probably, all this time.
Yeah.
How did you deal with the time in the hospital so long?
For the first 3 months, I wasn't able to see Travis, so I just slept because there was really nothing else I could do. But then when I was finally able to start seeing him, I just looked forward to our visits, and that's pretty much what kept me going.
Your son and your responsibilities. So it's amazing how God ended up using in your case.
Yep.
And I usually don't blame God for things. I do not.
Yeah.
But it seemed like he rescued you from becoming a healthy mom, someone that really took care of things.
Yeah.
So if somebody that you see driving now, do you drive again
No,
today?
I haven't driven yet.
And the reason for that is what?
I'm too afraid.
Yeah.
I'm not ready to get back in a car.
Will you go in a car with someone else? Well, you're here, obviously.
Yeah.
Yes, you're here.
I'm okay being a passenger, but
Not a thing.
I won't drive.
I want to still get back for a moment on that shredded aorta. You know, when your aorta stretch, you basically bleed to death,
Yeah.
normally spoken. The seatbelt was used to save you. And the fatality is, I believe, at least 1 in 2. And with you, with all your other injuries, that was a whole lot more serious than that. So you're out there, you have that aorta shredded. Do you have the scars still today of everything that you worked through at that time?
Mm-hmm.
So does that make you feel less beautiful?
Completely.
And yet you're such a beautiful woman, and you sit here, and there's 2 things with scars, I think. When Jesus was crucified on the cross, and I imagine him having scars everywhere, from the torture, from the nails,
Yes.
from everything, scars. And I always wondered, when we see Jesus in heaven later on, if all those scars will still be there or not, or if they're healed over, or if it's a complete new body. Did you ever think
it'll
about
be
that?
a completely new body.
Completely different, yeah. So tell me a little bit, what is it that you do today to maintain a relationship with Jesus after he saved you right here?
We go to church every Sunday. I'm involved in one of the small groups that our church offers, and I read my Bible in the Devotional Daily.
Does that help you?
Completely.
What is the benefit of reading your Bible every day?
I just learn new things about God that I never knew before.
Yeah, it changes. It changes all that.
Changes everything.
I'm completely with you. You're basically a walking miracle sitting right beside me here right now. And it's just amazing what God has pulled you through and how he used your son, Travis, to keep going. Now, why the name Travis?
We named him after my older brother, Travis. I truly believe my older brother has been a guardian angel in my life since he left my life. And so I just wanted to honor him by naming my son Travis.
Now, I'm trying to follow you on that. I like what you're saying, first of all. I have no issue with that. But aren't guardian angels just angels? Or isn't that separate? Isn't the heaven and the angels and the people that die, that's not one, right?
Is it not?
I don't believe so. I don't believe so. But, you know, we would have to research it and
Yeah.
get back to the audience on that. But I think once you die, you do go to heaven to be with Jesus. But Jesus has assigned us guardian angels to help us. However, I do think that Travis has been you to keep going, has helped you, has guided you, has directed you, and has been a huge encouragement for your own son, Travis, to do all you could be to be the best mother that God created you, because he gave you a second chance to be a mom.
I completely believe that.
That is just terrific.
Yeah.
Kathleen, I so appreciate you came to me today. So I want to give you my book, Ransomed. It's about 5 women that struggled. It's about 5 women that some of them left God, some of them didn't, that worked through issues in their lives. It's about Rahab, that was a prostitute. It is about other people in there that just struggled with life and how God turned it around. Wow. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
For coming to show.
Of course.
Great to have you.
Thank you.
Great to have you. And what is it? How do you get close to God? And what is it that you need to do to actually return to him? And it says it kind of very easy, as Jesus himself talks about this. And it says in John 14, verse 1, it says, "Do not let your heart be troubled. Believe in God and believe in me." And a couple of weeks ago, I talked in a show about that when you focus on God and when you connect with God and get to know him, and you start saying he is the way and he's the truth, and find the evidence of what that truth is. Show what Jesus has done. Look at his past. Look at what all people are able to identify to, of whom he was. Healing the sick, helping the people, comforting Kathleen. And it goes on and on and on. And even with the God stories today, there are so many stories and there are so many things, just like with Kathleen, that God is alive, God is real, God wants to help, God comforts, and that includes you. And it says it here, believe in Jesus. It says, believe in me, that I am in the Father and the Father is in me. Otherwise, believe because of the works themselves. Look at those that have been touched by God, and they are evidence that God is alive today. And if you really want to get close to God, this is what God is telling you to do. It's right out of his word, the Bible. And it says in 2 Chronicles chapter 7, verse 14, And if my people who are called by my name humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven, will forgive their sin, and will heal their land. If my people pray and turn and humble themselves to be willing to turn around, are you willing to do that? Are you willing to pray? Are you willing to turn? And are you willing to trust in the bigger picture, God Almighty Himself, that loves you, wants to help you, and guide you? There's two things I learned today. God can do the impossible, and don't text and drive. As I can do it, and I finally learned it, I know you can do. Put that phone in the trunk, turn it off, put it on the back seat, do whatever it takes to be safe on the road, not just for you, but also for all those around you. 3,328 people died in the year 2012 because of distracted drivers. And I do not want you to be one of them. You never know what tomorrow brings, but when you turn to God, repent, and get close to Him, you have a certainty for eternity, the rest of your life. Call me, pray with me, 855-515-5550, or go to BarbTV.org. God has a plan for you. God believes in you. The question is, do you believe in Him? 855-515-5550. Easy to remember. Have a great day. Go to our website, BarbTV.org. Connect with us so we can connect with you and connect with God.